Hey, how's it going everyone? Tricky Acid here, and I thought I'd kick off my first video of 2021 by looking back on some of my best games of 2020. It was an interesting year, but it did deliver some great titles, as well as the next gen consoles. So for gaming, it was a pretty sweet year. But before we get started, as always, be sure to subscribe if you're new, and let's jump right in. The first game on the list is the fast-paced, adrenaline-pumped Doom Eternal, an incredible FPS by ID Software that challenges you at every step, dealing with endless hordes of enemies and forcing you to use every piece of artillery you have to defeat the opposition. The gameplay is incredibly fluid, and it's all backed up thanks to Mick Gordon's awesome soundtrack, and it's not just a mindless first-person shooter. It takes a lot of focus and persistence, and what you'd consider as a mini-boss at first turns into a regular enemy later on, because Doom Eternal has excellent pacing, and you start to realize how better you're getting at the game. End of the day, you're mankind's last hope of survival, and you'll do whatever it takes, even if it involves you punching a hole through a planet.
Surface targeted. Safety mechanism.
Would you like me to disable the safety protocols?
The next game on the list is The Last of Us 2. It had a controversial launch due to the leaks that were taken out of context, but when you played the game, you got the full picture of how much of a fantastic job Naughty Dog actually pulled off with this title. The Last of Us 2 is one of the best games I had played since Red Dead Redemption 2. The character development, the gripping narrative, the awesome gameplay, it all kept me so engrossed to the early hours of the morning. It was an emotional roller coaster that just kept delivering from start to finish.
Get off me! Please stop! No!
Assassin's Creed VALHALLA is next. Unlike Odyssey, where you'd get bombarded with endless side missions, VALHALLA focuses more on the main story aspects. And apologies for the dull weather, but it is set in England, and I love the RPG elements that VALHALLA brought into the series. It's more of a role-playing game than just an action-adventure, and handling certain enemies almost had an essence of Dark Souls dropped into the gameplay, and I liked how your combat abilities will improve as you progress in the game and how Ivor evolves with you as a character. And it's these elements that really opened this game up for me and made it a far more interesting step for the series. Plus, the game has plenty of cats. Genshin Impact was another surprise for me in 2020. I didn't know anything about this title, but it was getting a lot of attention, and being a big anime fan as well, it sparked my interest. Basically, think of Breath of the Wild mixed with anime, and that gives you Breath of the Waifu. The game is absolutely gorgeous. It's a world that you would love to dive into and play. The characters are stunning and have their own unique flair to them. And you can unlock a ton of various characters and then combine your abilities to formulate some impressive attacks during combat. The gameplay is so addictive that when you jump in, you can easily end up spending endless hours just questing away. The open world is lush, and it's one of the most gorgeous games that I have played. And you're honestly just going to sink into this universe. Though the game is more of a single player experience, the co-op is a nice addition to share adventures with a friend, but it does need some extra work since you can't do the campaign together. But mostly everything else can be shared to some extent, and overall I just have a lot of love for Genshin Impact.
Let's dance! Let the show begin!
Spiderman Miles Morales was the first game I slotted into my PS5 and played, and I can't stress how much of an awesome thrill ride the game is. It takes the same formula of what made Spider-Man back on the PS4 a fantastic game in 2018, but then adds its own extra touches with Miles' electrical powers and more, and it does a fantastic job. It's such a fun experience, the visuals are stunning and highly detailed, and I didn't think I'd have liked Miles as much as I did until I played this game. Miles is awesome, and the gameplay takes you through some crazy moments, like smashing through a mall while riding on top of Rhino, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. The game hands down blows you away with the level of excitement and intensity it throws at you.
Thank you!
You're welcome! Don't scare babies!
Ghost of Tsushima is my final best game of 2020. You play as Jin Sakai and you're torn between becoming an honorable samurai and following the samurai code for your family's legacy, or choosing the path of the Ghost, where you choose stealth tactics and try to get the upper hand on your enemy no matter the cost. The gameplay was fluid and beautifully brutal, and probably besides Genshin Impact, it's the most gorgeous open world title that I came across in 2020. Sucker Punch Games went for an artistic style with the game and it paid off. Instead of following a waypoint, you'd follow the wind to guide you. You'd perform awesome assassinations or standoffs. The world felt so alive with birds flying with you, chasing after foxes to shrines, and yes, you can pet the foxes. Basically everything about Ghost of Tsushima was breathtaking, and I feel Sucker Punch crafted a masterpiece that everyone needs to play.
You are the Ghost. Convince your people to join me, and I will give them peace.
We will never serve you.
But that sums up my best games of 2020. There are a couple honorable mentions such as Half-Life Alyx. I'm a big fan of Half-Life, but since I don't have a VR headset, I never got the chance to try the game out. And then there's Animal Crossing, which is a game that got a lot of people through the first lockdown, and it's definitely been a title that I've been considering for the Switch. Now, if you did enjoy the video, please give a like, it really does help me out. Also, let me know some of your favorite games that you played back in 2020 in the comments, and I would love to hear from you guys, and I will catch you all next time.